Hey, what's up, everybody? Alright, I'm going to do a video demo on how to do some trip planning, alright? Because I did some interacting with one of my subscribers, viewers, Khalif Abdul Samad. Khalif's a newer driver, and this is actually good information that will help him and hopefully a good number of other newcomers to the industry. We're going to talk about trip planning. First and foremost, when you trip plan, you do not rely blindly on GPS. I don't care if it's a truck GPS or not. I can tell you so many occasions where truck GPS even can do you wrong. Good example is if you follow a GPS device into my home area, Victorville, California. It used to be there when I first moved back into the high desert. There used to be 3 good legal truck routes into the area where I parked my truck over there by my Maricold or Church and Dwight. But you know, about 2 or 3 years ago, whatever it was, the city of Victorville decided to take one of those routes off of its list of good truck routes. And that would be the Green Tree Boulevard route, which is off of the 7th Street or Palmdale Road exit, 515. There's the problem here. If you're following your GPS might not be aware of that change that has been made, but because maybe you haven't updated the data on it, or maybe it's whatever your source is, even if it is up to date, isn't actually up to date. So you could have bad information there, and that's why trip planning is essential, okay? I'm going to cover some of the basics. There are more details that I probably won't cover here about trip planning, and I do sometimes cover some of the additionals when I'm actually on a load where maybe I'm doing a pickup or delivery video where it's essential to give these kind of details. Just watch my channel for any of the pickup delivery videos, and you might get some of those details in certain areas. Good example would be like Yuba City, California. I did a delivery there several months ago. It's here on my channel, and I do have some detail in there. I actually mapped truck route maps included in there as screenshots in that video. That's another example there to help you. But alright, so by and large, don't use GPS blindly. GPS is fine, but don't use it blindly. GPS should be set up where you have it set to follow the exact same route that you trip planned for already, and then it'll tell you how far you are to your next turn or whatever, which direction you need to turn. Is it a ramp you're hitting or whatever? These kind of details are where GPS can help you out. Generally though, when you're a new driver, it's not a good idea to use it because one, you have when you're just starting out, you got to get rid of some of your car driving habits, and that includes not reading signs. Sign reading is very important to a trucker. There are so many signs that you'll see on the road that are specific to truckers and not applicable to cars. And like say a way station coming up, you bypass a way station because you weren't paying attention to the signs. Next thing you know, you get pulled over by a DOT officer and ticketed, maybe even pulled back, escorted back to the way station to get weighed and get a level 1 inspection just because you were, not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So gotta watch for those kind of things. This load here, I think is a really good example I can work with for trip planning. Don't have quite the right conditions here. I mean, it's the wrong time of year, I think, for trip planning for the weather part in a way, but I can at least give you some good some tips here to how to plan in advance before you even start your trip, because you might have more than one option available to you, and you might have a particular reason why you want to take one route or another one. Or, you know, maybe you drive for a carrier that compels you to go a certain way, along a certain route from start to finish generally, except for, you know, in your certain area, like wherever the customer's at, their particular area, it's a little bit different story. But either way, how do you get around? One is getting experience, knowing how the roads are laid out. That can make a big difference. And I'm going to cover some of that here for you. Right now I'm at my shipper. I got two pickups here in Central California. The first one I'm at right now, which I can't check in for another 45 minutes. That is at Kings River Packing in Sanger, California. And I got another pickup in Exeter, which is... so I'm going to go along, I'm going to give you an idea on the route that I took from my house to here, more particularly from Bakersfield to here. I'll show you what route I planned on taking up here, and then I'll show you what route I actually did take up here, because those two are different. The route I planned on doing, I ended up not doing because there was a traffic delay that looked like it was a dead stop or stop and go conditions. That I ended up finding out were probably because of construction in the area. I knew about it well in advance because I had my Google Maps up and it had the traffic data up and could see it at least an hour before I even got to to where I was going to hit a possible detour point. So we'll cover that here, right? And here's a screenshot of it to show you where I'm talking about, and we'll probably go into more detail on that. Alright, so first let's start with show some Google Maps. Alright, I'm going to start out over here in Bakersfield, which is right here in the center of the screen. I'm going to put it to the bottom of the screen. Now toward the center of the screen, you should see a blue dot there. That would be where I'm at right now. And there's that starred location. That's the starred location that I'm at right now. I'm going to go ahead and expand. I'm going to zoom in so I get the full, for as much detail as I can, but still see both of the locations I want to see. Okay, right here in Bakersfield at the bottom of the screen, you'll see Highway 99, and that's that green one that has that's basically the traffic speed data. If you're just looking at from there to here, it looks like 99 to somewhere is probably the most practical and quick route up here, and that is normally true. Yes, that is the route I wanted to take last night. It is not the route I actually did take, and I will explain more. And you know, like I said, with that. That screenshot I showed, I'll show it again here, where you see the red traffic data there, dark red. It means that it's at a dead stop or very slow. Didn't want to deal with that, so I ended up taking a bypass route. But just to cover the tracks on how to get from Bakersfield to here the normal way, let's cover that here. So we're looking here at this route. It looks like from Bakersfield up to Tulare, it's pretty self-explanatory. It doesn't look like there's any other better way to go than that way. So I'm going to go ahead and put Tulare at the bottom and zoom in. Now I get more detail. Alright, so to get from from Tulare to here, though, now that's where you have more questions, like which way should we go? Generally, you should try to, like, if I turn off the traffic map, traffic speed data, general rule of thumb, as much as practical, try to stay on the roads that are yellow on Google Maps. If you don't have the traffic data turned on, yellow roads, and particularly numbered roads, and particularly interstate and U.S. highway routes are always the best route to take. When you get into situations where those are not quite so practical, then you can maybe looking at doing state routes like 99 or 137 or 198, as you see here. State routes on Google Maps will show up like a round or oval kind of look. U.S. highways like 101 will have a shield kind of appearance like you see here. Alright, but anyway, going from Tulare to here, as you see here, there's not a really good practical yellow route to take over here, sort of going up to Fresno and then cutting back across 180. So, and you start thinking, are there other good routes that I can take from, between there and here that don't involve yellow routes? Generally, if it's a white road, I try to stay off them as much as I can. There are times where, like I say, it's the most practical and there might be a good truck route that'll cut off distance and time for you, but sometimes staying on the big road, even if it's a little bit longer, could possibly be the quickest route to get you there. In this case, from Tulare, you can see Highway 63 going up to the north from there. That's one option you could consider. However, it does go a little bit off to the side, and if you get closer up here, it's a little more curvy in that area, and you can see the texture of the map there. It kind of tells you there's terrain as well. So you're going to have hills and curves there just by looking at the map. And that's something you might want to consider. Those curves don't look like they're too much for a truck to handle, but the terrain, both there and on Highway 180, it would make me question if that's the way I'd really want to go. If it's the most practical way to go, then I would definitely do it. But they look like they're, surface streets that might be just as well. And actually, since I did come up that way, so let me go backtrack here. But I told you, I did not take 99 up, but I'll show you the way I wanted to go. And that would have been come up here into Kingsburg, as you see right there. Now, from Kingsburg, I wanted to come up into Sanger. You see that one? There's a white road right there. I have it right in the middle of the screen there. Going from Kingsburg up to Sanger. That was the route that I wanted to take up there. Now, I do have first-hand experience with that road before, and I know that it's a good truck route, and I know it's a good way to go. So that was why I was leaning toward going that way until the traffic delay issue made me change my mind. But for planning, got Kingsburg here, and you see Highway 201 there. I can also scroll over and see that it's West Sierra Avenue. And I can get off there, and if I zoom in further, I can see that's exit 112. So if I got on Highway 99 at exit 24, that's where Highway 58 eastbound meets up with 99 from 99's exit numbers. That tells me it's right just less than 90 miles from when I get on 99 to when I exit 99. So I know it's going to be about an hour and a half drive by doing that. Alright, now I would have gotten off here at 201, and then right here by Walgreens and maybe Rinconcito and Starbucks and all that, Advanced AutoZone, Auto Parts, whatever. I can see there's a traffic light right there at Marion and 10th Avenue. That's where I would have been turning left and gone up 10th Avenue. 10th Avenue turns into Academy Avenue, and follow it straight up here to 180, and go just past 180 where you see that Blossom Trail Cafe on the map at Belmont Avenue. That's where I would have normally been turning right, and following Belmont Avenue over here through that little town of Elk, and end up right where I'm at now. Okay, so it's not the way I actually did come here, but so I'll explain how I figured out how to get up here without using 99 and dealing with the traffic. Come back down here to Bakersfield and zoom back, change the zoom again here. And you can see that to the east of 99 is Highway 65. 65 goes up into up toward the town of Exeter, which is actually where my next pickup after here is going to be. And then you can hit 198 westbound into Visalia. There's actually other options there beside that, but we'll go ahead and zoom in between Exeter and my current location and figure out different ways to go. So we got 245 over here on the east end. We see a lot of curves there and stuff, or turns and curves and stuff, and especially through here, that's that's definitely nowhere you want to be putting a truck. If you see that on the map, it's probably not a place you want to be if you're in a truck. So automatically, that's probably a no for me, without even thinking about it. More than likely, it's not even a good truck route, but just looking at that would discourage me from wanting to go that way, even if it was truck legal. So let's skip that. So now the next option would have been from Exeter to here to take perhaps 198 to the west end of Visalia and take Highway 63 up from there. That, or go all the way across to this Plaza Drive here, right before hitting Highway 99 again on the west end of Visalia. That would have been another one to consider. Would have gone up through Danuba. But then the question is, what roads here are truck legal and which ones aren't? Generally, if there's residential, I try to avoid them, especially if it's heavier density residential or slower street. I try to avoid going through downtown areas if I can avoid it. And if a street goes through a residential area, it's a definite no if I can avoid doing that also. Sometimes you don't have an option to do but to do it that way, but I try to avoid it as much as I can. Now, 63 actually is the way I went, and when I got into Visalia, it did help to know what I was getting myself into here. Alright, that's not the ideal way to go right there, just by going, because look at all the streets that are densely packed. It means more traffic lights and slower speed limits. And if there's a way I go that is less traffic lights and higher speed limits, that's the way I'd rather be going. But I ended up going this way. It was a numbered highway. I did not see any signs saying that it was not a truck legal route, but I didn't see anything showing that definitely was one either. But numbered highway made it more likely that it would be a good truck route. And as it turned out, I get up here where this roundabout thing, this oval park is. There actually were signs right over there saying truck route, follow, whatever. So I knew I was in a good spot then once I saw truck route signs. But 63 north took it up into Calgrove, whatever, and Cutler. But once you get past where 201 goes west, that is no longer a good truck route. There are actually signs right there before you hit 201 west saying truck route, turn left. And it doesn't show that you can keep going straight ahead for truck routes. So I ended up making a left turn to go west on 201, and then it became a question of, do I go through Danuba, or do I go through Reedley, or I go through some other way? Because for me to get onto this road that I'm on, I have to come over here to Centerville or Sanger. The road here by Centerville doesn't go through. Sanger's straighter and more thorough, but I would have to go further over all the way to Kingsbury to do that. So might have been a better option there to just go across all the way to Kingsbury from 201 possibly, but what I ended up doing though instead was coming through Reedley, 201 to Reedley, and then 201 and then up this this street right here. You see a started location, and that's a shipper I've been to before. It's the fastest shipper I've ever been to. 18 minutes in the dock door is all I spent. And I come up here into Reedley. Not the best place to go right there. Again, not the most truck-friendly place to be. A lot of dense streets right there, and that's what I'm talking about. There might be truck legal, but is it the most practical way to be going in a truck? Maybe not, because you're going to have more traffic lights and lower speed limits in areas when you see those kinds of streets. Yeah, not to mention residential. Okay, I ended up coming up through here on Reed Avenue, which is, you see I have another customer I've been to right there. That's why it's a star location. Ended up coming here onto 180 in Minkler, and then went across to this road here, Oliver Avenue, and then made the right onto Elk. From Reedley up to here, you'll see that in my pickup video. If you haven't already, I don't know which one will get posted first, this one or that one, but one or the other. And the Reedley to here part will be in that video, in that pickup video. So if you haven't seen that video already, watch for it soon, or go back and find it, whichever order I ended up doing them in. Alright, so now going from here to this load that I'm picking up is going to Royal Palm Beach, Florida, which is down by Miami, way down on the far southeast end of Florida. I covered already how to get from Bakersfield to here and Exeter, so let's just go ahead and backtrack to Bakersfield to Florida. There are different ways you can go, and we'll cover that. Sometimes you might have different reasons why you want to take a particular route. Maybe less terrain on I-10 or better fuel prices on I-10 or something if you're an owner-op or lease op or something. Or, but you have the LA basin you have to deal with to get to there, possibly. Not necessarily, but there's a possibility. You'll have more rural to deal with. Yeah, you have Bakersfield no matter what, but outside of that, the biggest city you're going to see probably is Barstow on the way out of California past Bakersfield. Barstow's not even that big a city, 20 to 25,000 people, something like that. And then it's all rural across I-40, so yeah, easy route there. But you have some terrain in Arizona, and maybe in the wintertime you might get winter weather on I-40 that you might not get on I-10. Not to say that I-10 doesn't get winter weather, but less chance of it. So those are all things that you might want to consider with your trip planning process. Which route do I want to take and why? There's not necessarily any right or wrong answer. As long as you stay on truck legal roads, you're good. But why you take one route or another, you can have different reasons for it. And I'm going to kind of cover some of that here. So let's do the I-10 part first. Bakersfield down to I-10. You would end up hitting I-10 over here in Beaumont, California, in Riverside County. I forgot Bakersfield to Beaumont right there. You see there's a couple of different options here. You can either take 99, I'm going to put it right in the center where 99 and 5 meet up in Wheeler Ridge, go up through the Grapevine, and end up in Santa Clarita and then into LA County, LA Basin area. And once you're in the LA Basin area, you have different routes. I'm going to zoom in over here where 210 and 5 meet up. And you see there's multiple options there as well. Depending on traffic, you might want to go one way or different, whichever. Again, when I'm in the area there, I know my way around all those highways, but I won't go through any of that area without having the map up, so I know what traffic conditions look like on each one of them, because I might find that I have a particular reason I want to avoid a highway because of some traffic delay or something that I can avoid by taking a different route. So, but generally you might want to take 210 across from there over to, where it runs into, over here, runs into 10 on in Redlands, on the southeast side of San Bernardino. And then just take 10 straight across into Florida. And then we'll cover some more of the Florida part a little bit here. Another option there to get to I-10 from Bakersfield. Alright, right there. You see I have a couple different options here. You can either take I-5 south into the Grapevine and then take Highway 138 across, which is right there. Now I have it at the south end. Run into Highway 14 in Lancaster and then work your way down to 138. And 138 would take you over to the Cajon Pass on I-15 area. And you take 15 and 215 from there down into San Bernardino. And you have a couple of different options there as well. If you're looking at the map, you can tell what options are possibly good and which ones are possibly maybe you want to avoid. So I'm not going to go into too much detail here. Another way would be Highway 58 from Bakersfield over to Mojave and then take 14 down, the same way that I was just talking about. Alternatively, you can take Bakersfield, Highway 58 to the east over to Barstow and go across I-40. Now, I-40 across over to Florida, way up there at the top. Let me zoom in a little bit now. See, I got some different roads there. It would take 40 across to, let's just say, Albuquerque, which is right there in the center now. That's where I-40 and I-25 meet up. I'm going to zoom in some. I'll zoom into right there. Next thing you might notice, the next ideal route would possibly be take 40 all the way across to the Memphis area, which is right here by the Mississippi River. And I'll have that route over to I-10 and I-75 in the Florida Panhandle there. Now, I-10 and I-75 is just to the left of where that black dot at the top of the screen is. Okay, and you might see that you can take I-22 down to Birmingham, and then I-20 to the east to Atlanta, and then I-75 down from Atlanta into Florida. And then, yeah, that's one way. It's not the way I would normally go, because I don't want to deal with Memphis most of the time, and I don't want to deal with Atlanta either, any more than I have to. But since I'm over here in this section, I'm going to show you another way that I do sometimes go if I don't want to deal with Atlanta particularly. And that would be between Birmingham and Lake City, Florida. Now from there, I would normally come down I-65 over to Montgomery, and come over here to the east end of Montgomery, and let's see, I don't think it's Tuskegee. I think it would be, let me find 231. 231's the way I like to go. Okay, yeah, that's it. I'd come over here to this road right here. That's the truck legal road right there, Taylor Road. That can take you down over here to 231, and then take 231 straight on down, all the way down to I-10 from there. That gets you there on I-10 in Cottondale, Florida. Again, this is just experience talking here, but you can play around with the maps and figure out stuff. Sometimes just explore, see what, that's a good way to learn too, is just explore, see what different routes are like, how many times you get slowed down for towns or whatever, if there are any problems with terrain or hills or truck legality or anything along that line. All those things can help you out with coming up your personal favorites. Now, me personally, if I'm taking this load all the way to Florida, which I don't know that I will, because I won't be able to deliver it on time. It's not showing up on here until right here, but right here on Amarillo, between Amarillo and Fort Worth, that's where I would go. I would take US 287 down from there to Fort Worth, and then once we're in Fort Worth, I would personally take 20 to at least Shreveport. Now once we get to Shreveport, there are different preferences among drivers about which way to go. Some of them like to go down I-49 from there to Lafayette, and then once they're there, they hit I-10 and I-12, go through Baton Rouge and Hammond, Louisiana, and Slidell. I generally try to avoid Baton Rouge unless I'm gonna go through there at night, because the traffic can be shitty through there. So it's another one of those I'd rather not go through there if I don't need to, or I'll go through there at night. Another option would be come over here to Jackson, and then I would take Jackson, basically US 49 south from Jackson to Hattiesburg, and then US 98 east from Hattiesburg over to Mobile. You do have to use I-59 a couple miles southbound between those two, but that's the way I tend to go. It's a more direct route. It does cut off miles. There are some towns you have to go through, and you do have to deal with some lights and shit in Mobile as well. So pick your poison. You want more miles? Do you want to have to cover more miles, or would you rather have a shorter route but deal with some traffic lights occasionally? That's basically what you're dealing with there. Okay, once you're in Florida though, from Lake City to the Miami area, we'll say where I-75 and I-95 meet up way down there. There are some different options. If I zoom out a little bit, I could either take I-10 over to Jacksonville and then 95 straight on down. I could also take 75 all the way down straight from there. Or if you're willing to pay toll road fees, or if your carrier pays them, you also have the Florida Turnpike right here. It goes right through Orlando. Picks up right here, and then you can follow it down through here through Orlando, and you'll end up running into 95 down here. Okay, so that kind of covers the basics with how I would trip plan going from here to Royal Palm Beach. You use some of the same principles with any other route you want to do. I do want to cover a couple other things, and that would be weather and traffic. Let's go with weather first. I'm going to show you the two apps that I like to use, one of them being the Weather Channel. And the other app that I use is My Radar. And I'll show you different reasons why I like to use both. Now, I'm going to go to the radar first on Weather Channel. And I'm going to zoom out. Okay, now along that route, I don't see anything of real major concern, although, yeah, that. Okay, when I see a lot of red there, and especially if it's not far from green, it's a better chance of tornado activity there, and I might want to avoid it. So right there between Weatherford and El Reno on I-40. Earlier I was looking at this. There was actually this right here, and there actually was an active tornado warning on My Radar. I tried to do this recording earlier, but for some reason this camera that I'm looking at didn't want to record or didn't save any files, so I have to redo this. But right here, this looks like something to avoid. Red means really heavy rain. Orange would be moderate rain or moderately heavy. Yellow would be moderate rain, and then green would be varying levels of lighter rain. And then if you see pink, then that's a hail core, and yeah, that's something else you might want to avoid because it can do damage to the body of your vehicle. While we're at it, since we're looking at that anyway, I'm going to go into My Radar here. And as you can see here, there's severe thunderstorm warning, but I can see right here there's a tornado warning right there. That's a tornado warning. And that tells you which way it's tracking, going right toward Henderson. I believe that's North Carolina. There's a Walmart DC in Henderson that I've been to. Okay, it's flash flood warning, severe thunderstorm warning. We have here more flash floods, but yeah, this orangish, reddish looking kind of color there is what you want to really watch for. Tornado warning, stay away from. Ideally, if you're going to deal with tornadoes, if you have to deal with them, try to go south and west of them. If you're going east and you're to the west of it, it's best to stay behind it and wait for it to pass through and off your route before you continue. If you're east of it, might want to just stay in place, wait for it to make its move, because usually tornadoes move in the northeast direction. Sometimes they go east or sometimes they go north, but almost always go northeast. Generally, unless it's a hurricane related tornado, or it's highly unlikely you're going to see it go west. So that can help you out a lot, and knowing how to avoid it, or knowing where to even somewhat safely watch a tornado if you really want to do that. So anyway, that kind of covers why I like to use My Radar, because you get these weather alerts right here. I have a lot of wildfire activity here as well in Arizona, New Mexico, and a little bit in Texas. That could be a concern too, because that could lead to freeway closures. It just depends on where it's at. Something to watch for on the traffic map. Okay, but going back to Weather Channel, a couple other details I want to show you here, which would be wind and snow planning. I'm going to come over to the wind layer, go back, and this is the current conditions right now. The light blue is what you call usually 10 to 15 mile an hour winds, and then the light, this kind of blue here by Turlock and Modesto, I'd probably call them mid-teens. So if I just pull up Turlock right now, it's probably going to tell me right around 15-ish. And I'll show you how I look that up. Once I put Turlock in here, I'm going to come over here to the hourly. And sure enough, yeah, I got 17 mile an hour winds that are going to dissipate as the day progresses. The darker the blue that gets, the more concerning it's going to be. My own rule is that if it gets like midnight blue, like really dark blue, it's going to be that's going to be up above 25-mile-an-hour winds. Usually it's okay to run in even with an empty load, but start being real careful. I did have that deadhead route I did to Enid not long ago that had 31, 32-mile-an-hour crosswinds, and my trailer kept blowing sideways. I mean, I could actually look in the rear view mirrors and see down both sides of my trailer 1 minute, and the next second I could actually see the tires sliding sideways, and I can no longer see the driver's side of my trailer anymore. If it gets to that point, it's, yeah, definitely might want to consider getting off the road pretty soon. Definitely don't make any sudden, unnecessary changes in direction in any direction, whether it's left, right, forward, accelerate or decelerate. When you see that kind of stuff, try to keep the truck and trailer as stable as you can, and if you have to deal with wind, park in, try to get parked where you're facing toward the wind if at all possible. In that particular case in Enid, I didn't have that option available. There was just nowhere, so I just pressed through it and just dealt with it. I ended up waiting until, even after I picked my load up, I just ended up parking at the Loves down the street from there and waited until better conditions. And it wasn't the conditions there so much as it was what were the winds going to be like in Amarillo when I got to there. And I was expecting them to be at their peak when I was going to get to there had I gone straight there. I ended up waiting a few extra hours. And then would have gotten me better wind conditions in Amarillo and safer conditions. Even if I'm not worried about blowing over myself, there's still a question: is someone else going to blow over who's lighter than me or not so careful with their movements? Or can they take me out with them, or are they going to cause my route to get blocked and me have to detour or get stuck on the road somewhere? And that can all affect me either how, no matter how, even if I'm not the one blown over. So these are things to consider here with why you might want to park your truck no matter how heavy or light you are in strong winds. General rule of thumb is if I see 35 or more sustained, those are usually strong enough to produce gusts strong enough to blow somebody over. Whether it's me or somebody else, it doesn't matter. Like I said, do I want to be the guy blown over, or do I want to be the guy who gets stuck behind someone else's blowover accident that now blocks the road? Or do I want to be next to that guy while they're getting blown over? None of the above for me. So better to just park your rig in those cases. Now, I do have one more here I want to cover, and that would be snow planning. I don't really worry too much about rain unless there's going to be tornado activity like we already covered. So we'll cover snow activity. It's kind of late in the year now. It's already getting into the latter part of May. However, I'm going to show you here. The Rocky Mountains in Colorado are expecting snow tonight, and so I'm going to come over this all layers and go down a little bit further to future 48 snowfall. Come back into here, and I'm going to move this all the way to the right, that slider bar at the bottom, and zoom out, and you're going to see there is an area of snow right there. And purple right there has a lot of snow. That is pushing a foot of snow, definitely at least 9 inches, maybe even possibly a foot. Not something you want to mess with. You're definitely going to be putting chains on in that area if you're trying to go through there tonight. So I would avoid that route personally. If I saw that on in my weather planning before I even leave the area, when I have to make a decision on whether to go one way or another, and the one way involves going this route through I-70, then I would definitely avoid it. I would consider, if I'm going to Denver specifically, I would consider taking I-40 over to Albuquerque and then I-25 up instead. I maybe just missed that, as you see. Might get a little bit of snow here, but not quite as bad. I'd still consider even avoiding 25 because of a couple little spots there. Another way to consider would be to take I-15 all the way up to I-80 and Salt Lake City area and take 80 across. If maybe if I'm wanting to go through Nebraska or somewhere like Chicago or somewhere further out east. It doesn't really look too bad there with Wyoming at the moment. So, but notwithstanding the wind at least. But yeah, that would be this area here in the Rockies and Colorado would definitely be something I'd want to avoid personally. And no doubt about it, I would take an alternate route, even if it's 100 extra miles, maybe even 150 extra miles. It's a couple hours of drive time, but it's a couple hours I can keep my load moving possibly and not get stuck having to put chains on driving 30 miles an hour, not to mention the time spent putting chains on if I even do put them on. Yeah, or sit there parked waiting for the conditions to improve before I can move. You got to make your own decision on that. Now, owner ops and lease purchase drivers like myself, where we pay for our own fuel, at least here at JCT, they don't really care which way we go so much as they care about us delivering the loads on time. Yeah, that's their main concern. Get the load there on time. They don't care how you get it there or what time you get it there. Just deliver it on time. Now, if you do get it there, if you are running tight on schedule, yeah, they're going to be watching you like a hawk. And if you're running super tight or running late, they're going to probably try to swap you out with another driver along the way. As I'm expecting to happen with this load here once I do get it picked up. If you're a company driver, though, you might be compelled by your company to go a particular route. It just depends on who you drive for, what their policy is, or sometimes even not what company, but what fleet you're even in. Like Sierra England, I drove for them, and on the OTR side, they'll give you a route assignment, and they want you to follow it to a T, no matter what. But they won't really say anything unless you go 100 miles off course from that route. Which does happen. They'll yell at you for that, and you could get disciplinary action over that. You never know, because you're costing them fuel. I mean, if you're costing them money and fuel or whatever other issues, maintenance concerns or repower concerns, whatever that could be. Those could all be reasons why they want you to take a route that doesn't always make sense. So keep that in mind. But maybe when you run in a different fleet with that same company, they might have more relaxed rules. Like you could be in their pods fleet, and they might be more relaxed and tell you take whatever route you want to take, just get it there when you say you're going to be there. Pretty much, from my understanding. So yeah, it's not a one-size-fits-all thing, even with one single carrier necessarily. So some more good info for you there. I think that kind of covers the weather part of this for the most part. Those are the two apps I use. Other people like to use other apps, AccuWeather, WeatherBug, or whatever else. It doesn't matter. You might have different reasons why you prefer one app or another. Just try them out and figure out which ones work best for your own needs. Me personally, Weather Channel and my radar both work perfectly fine for my needs. I can look on Weather Channel for hurricane information, and as well as the general broader stuff here, particularly with the radar and the hourly data. Gives me ideas on when to expect the weather to change as well, to either something more favorable or when to expect that bad weather is going to start. And I can do that same thing with this snow area, the snow here in the Rocky Mountains. I can find out when that is expected to start. We'll just try Georgetown, Colorado, and I'll show you how I can tell when that's going to start, when it's going to start snowing there, or when it's expected to. Okay, I got that on the radar now. I'm going to go to the hourly. Snow possible after 9 p.m. So winds aren't too bad. It's partly cloudy, but it's going to get more cloudy at around 9 p.m. It's going to snow. And it looks like it's going to snow all the way up until pretty much the end of tomorrow night, Tuesday. Today being Monday. So if I know I'm going to pass through that area during those hours when snow is expected, that's definitely no. Let's find a different route if I can. Like I said, I don't mind if I have to drive an extra 100 miles or something like that. I have an alternate route I even take to get around I-40 if I want to use I-40. Like if Arizona and New Mexico are having traffic delays because of weather and crashes, I'll actually use I-10 over to Las Cruces, New Mexico, over on the southeast end of New Mexico, and then take US 70 up to Alamogordo, and then US 54 from there all the way up to Santa Rosa, and that gets me around most of the problem areas of New Mexico usually. It's an extra 100 miles, but it's so much nicer. It's most of the time hardly ever weather issues going that way. Maybe some wind or something at times, but it's not as prone to snow or crashes as the I-40 route. So all things I just consider why I might go one way or another. The last thing I want to cover here is traffic incidents. I was looking earlier. I don't know if it's still going to be there, but in California there was an incident in Baker. Let me pull up the traffic. Okay, yeah, there's still problems right there in Baker. And on this day in that area, that's not normal. So I would want to know what's going on there. Is there an incident, or is there road construction or something that I might be able to figure out? So I have an app here. This is one of the nice things I like about California planning. There's this app right here called Cal Road Report from JC Freewood. I'm going to hit this My Incidents tab here, and then Baker would be in the Barstow Command area, so I'm going to go there. And okay, so it's actually a different incident than what I was looking at earlier. Earlier when I was trying to record this, there was an incident, there was a car fire at the 133 mile marker. You see down here at the second incident from the bottom at 12:18 p.m. there's a traffic collision, 11:41 en route. That means it's an injury accident or suspected injury accident, and medical aid is on its way. Okay, the 14,000 part tells you what mile marker it's at. It's that's the 140.00 mile marker on I-15 southbound, San Bernardino County, mile marker 140. I'm going to come in here and I can get good detail on this. I can see that there are at least a couple of CHP units at the scene already. And then it's going from bottom to top, I mean, and the brackets you see there, there's a number in brackets, that's the line number. Line number 2 vehicle traffic collision, one rolled and is being dragged by a semi. And in line 3, you got 1039 CC. So 1039 is they're dispatching somebody, and then CC is comm center, that's the fire department. It takes experience looking at this stuff, knowing what all these shorthand abbreviation things are with this, but you get a lot of good detail from this app. It actually gets its data from a website that's actually run by CHP itself. It's cad.chp.ca.gov. If you go to that website, you'll see all these same incidents on there, but in the website interface. Alright, so there's other details in here. So now there's an accident there on the southbound side, and at the very top line there, you see there's a 1185 for a blue Honda. That means a tow truck on its way or they need a tow truck for a blue Honda. Right below that, A73-073, that's the CHP officer's call sign. And they say he reported that they pushed all vehicles to the right shoulder. Lanes are clear. Alright, so that kind of helps there. Not very many states have incident data like that. Utah does. They have their own 511 app that'll actually show you info on what condition the roads are in, and if there's an incident, it'll tell you where about it's at, what mile marker it's at, what highway, if there are any lanes blocked, and that kind of stuff. But that's about it. At least gives you the real basic need to know kind of information. Arizona is another one that I like for the most part. Not as much as California, but they're pretty good overall. On their Twitter account, their az.twitter account, Arizona DOT basically, they regularly post info on lane closures or accidents and stuff like that on their Twitter page. And I have my I follow them on Twitter, and I have it set up to send me push notifications. So whenever there's a if anything at all goes on in Arizona, yeah, if it gets posted on that channel, on that Twitter page, whatever, all I have to do is swipe down at the top of my screen, and right there on my list of notifications, it'll show up right there, and I'll know really quickly that something there might be something of concern to me in a certain area. A lot of other states don't have traffic incident info. Example being like New Mexico, they're not so good with that. I don't know of a good place where I'd get traffic incident info for that state. So I really have to just play guessing game. I see a traffic delay in this or that area. I have to know that hey, that's an area that I already know has construction delays, so it's probably that. Or if it's an area that isn't really known for construction delays, then I might have to assume there's something going on there, like an accident or who knows. All right, so those are just kind of some of the basics there. I'm sure there's more I can cover, but I think that's plenty good enough to satisfy this particular video. But if you do have other questions there you want, or other comments or feedback you want to add in on this, feel free to do so on the comments section. And maybe it's something I can address on a future video or something. It doesn't matter. Just whatever you feel like saying, just share your thoughts, all right? And we'll get to them later, all right? That said, I'm going to go ahead and it's about time for me to get checked in here at my shipper, so I'm going to go ahead and end this, and we'll see you guys on the next one, all right? Like I say, I don't know if this will be before the pickup video here or after, and also I have another pickup in Exeter 45 miles away that also I don't know if will be before or after this video, so you'll see all those in the same time frame, or same general time frame, so watch that then, all right? Till then, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, have a good day.